Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview. Every single week, I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses that are out there dominating their space and getting shit done. And today, guys, we got another rock star, amazing guest here on the show. Our guest is Kristopher Esqueda. Now, check this out, you guys. Chris has only been in the business for a couple years. First year in the business, got Rookie of the Year, broke the six-figure mark, broke over $100,000 in commissions earned. Second year in the business, more than doubled his first year production. And what's extremely impressive about this, you guys, is at that time, Kris had just moved from California all the way across the country to Tennessee, where he knew nobody. He didn't have a sphere of influence, didn't have, kind of his friends, family. He had to go out there and not only was he jumping into a brand new industry, came from the restaurant industry previously. So totally different industry when he jumped into real estate, and thousands of miles away from where he grew up, where all the people that he knew, friends, family, and so forth, to a brand new location. And he breaks down how he did it, man. How did he go out there and start networking and meeting new people and developing those relationships and building an amazing sphere of influence and an amazing business through referrals and so forth, amongst some other strategies that he breaks down, and he goes deep in this. And I know that you guys are going to get so much out of this. I don't care if you're brand new, if you're a mega team leader, right, how long you've been in the business, you're going to learn a lot from this. I've been in this business for almost 16 years now, and I learned a ton from Kris during this interview. Now, real quick, before we jump in, if you haven't already, make sure that you go snag my new book, Dominate Your Real Estate Business, Top Tips from a Top Producer. This is every word in here is written by me, which you'll tell as you read this, because I'm not a professional, published author. But I wanted this in my own voice, my own words. It's self-written, self-published by myself personally. And inside this, you guys are 42 top tips, strategies, and methods to help you go out there and dominate your business. These are 42 of my top tips, advice, and so forth that I've learned through my 15-plus year-long journey as a realtor and becoming one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet. There's nothing being sold, you guys. There's no fluff. There's no BS. This book is not filled with stories. I get right into the meat, get right into the content, going over the tips, everything from business planning to tracking to lead generation, scripts, objection handlers, to mindset, time management. Again, the 42 top tips. If you ask me to sit down with you and give you my top advice throughout my experience, over my journey, boom, that's all included in here. It's, again, 100% free, nothing being sold. It's a digital ebook copy that'll be sent to your email box within seconds. Go snag your copy right now, joshuasmithfreebook.com, joshuasmithfreebook.com. All right, let's jump on into this interview with Kris. All right, Kristopher, my man, welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast.
Awesome, Joshua. Thanks so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be on and very, very honored to be speaking with you.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I'm stoked to honors all mine, man. Stoked to be jamming, dude, and be able to learn from you, and for all our guests to be able, our listeners, not guests, listeners to be able to learn from you and so forth. And, before we get into all the things that you're doing now today, I mean, you've been in the real estate business for a short period of time, which you've been able to experience, some really good success at that time and build up that momentum and so forth, which we'll get into that, because
sure.
We know the statistics, man. 90% of agents drop out within their first 3 years. So, yep. Which is crazy. Like, if you think about that visually, you're in real estate school. There's 30 of you in class. There's only 3 of you left at the end of that 3 years. Yep. And it can be tough. And I get it. Business, it's not just real estate. Business is tough, right? But before we get into that and all the things that you've done that's allowed you to create success and create the momentum for the growth that you continue to experience, I'm always intrigued in our guests' journeys that led them here in the first place. Run the clocks, man. Like, what'd you do before you got in this industry, and what led to you jumping into this industry?
Yeah, so I came from another industry that also has a historically high rate of failure, which is maybe what made this one a little bit easier for me. But my background is in hospitality, so restaurants and bars, coffee shops. But kind of to start, I'm originally from Santa Barbara, California. And after I graduated high school, I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. My father's an auto mechanic, and so I worked for him for a bit and thought maybe I'll take over his business. Quickly realized that I didn't like getting dirty all the time, and also I didn't like working on cars as much as I thought I may. So I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, and originally kind of moved there for school. And while I was in school, I got a job at a restaurant to kind of pay my way through school, and kind of fell in love with the restaurant industry. I had an uncle that has some restaurants in Santa Barbara, and so I'd kind of grown up in them a little bit. And so when I was paying my way through school, I sort of fell into really kind of getting really excited about stuff like wine and cocktails and fine dining food. And so I kind of found my way while I was in school working up into nicer and nicer restaurants. In my last year at San Francisco State University, I was working at a restaurant, and one of the partners was a young guy. He was a sommelier, so a wine professional. I started studying wine kind of underneath him, and he was kind of mentoring me. We ended up leaving that restaurant and starting our own restaurant. I was at 23, he was 27. Had no idea really what I was doing, but had always known I wanted to do my own thing. Always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My father owned his own automotive repair shop. My uncle owned his own restaurant. So I knew that was kind of my idea, was that was the way to true happiness, was you got to work for yourself. You got to do your own thing. So naively, I kind of jumped in at 23. I was still in school. We did this little kind of pop-up restaurant. So it was just like a one night a week thing. It took off pretty quick. It got some recognition from the local food critic, and pretty quickly we went from just doing it Sunday nights once a month to every Sunday, to every Saturday, Sunday, to every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then eventually turned it into a full-blown restaurant. Got investors, did a remodel, the whole thing. That restaurant went on to get just sort of like a Michelin star system in restaurants. And so that restaurant went on to get, 1 Michelin star, 2 Michelin star, 3 Michelin stars. It landed on the San Pellegrino World's 50 Best Restaurant list a couple times. And that was sort of my springboard for a bunch of other hospitality related products that we sort of went on to do. We did, wine bars and coffee shops and neighborhood restaurants, at a taco and tequila bar. And kind of did that for the next few years. I kind of fell into it. I never really had the opportunity to do anything else. I barely graduated school, and then was kind of in the restaurant industry. Got really burnt out on it. The hours are really crazy. It's a fairly unhealthy industry to be in, late nights, a lot of alcohol, around food all the time, and kind of just got burnt out and decided that it was time for a change. I needed to get out of San Francisco, get out of California. The cost of living is insane there. My rent for a 2-bedroom apartment was $3,300 a month in the worst neighborhood. I had homeless people sleeping on my stoop, walking over needles on my way to work every day, at a drug dealer on the corner 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so had a buddy that had moved out to Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I am now, and came out to visit him. And he'd always kind of ask me when I was going to make the move out there. And decided that, it seemed like as good a place as any. I was a big fan of Austin, Texas, but I kind of saw that Nashville was sort of this baby version of that, and sort of headed in that direction. And so made the move out here to Nashville, Tennessee in 2018, at the beginning of 2018. And right before I moved out here, I took a little, like a 12-week Southeast Asia trip. I hadn't taken a vacation in like 8 years, because all I did was work. And I tell people, it was kind of like my eat, pray, love moment. I was able to actually relax and take some time to reflect and figure out if restaurants was still really what I was super passionate about, and if it's what I wanted to continue doing with my life. When I first moved to Nashville, I thought that's what I wanted to do, and quickly realized that my heart just wasn't in it anymore. I was fortunate enough that a lot of my partners, business partners, who've kind of become mentors back from San Francisco, were in the real estate space. So they were the building owners. A lot of them owned a lot of multifamily units. They were developers. They owned commercial real estate. And so I kind of kind of leaned into them and was kind of telling them I was sort of having this kind of crisis about, what am I going to do and who am I? And they were the ones that sort of pushed me into real estate and said, you should do real estate. We think you'd be great at it. And we've created some pretty good lives for ourselves, more on the investment side. So when I was out here, I thought, residential real estate would be the sort of the lowest barrier to entry for me to really get plugged in, get started, learn about the neighborhoods, meet people. And so I thought, why not? Let me give it a shot. And got licensed and started in basically January 2019 was when I started.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And hindsight's always 2020. Nobody could predict it. Nobody predicted as crazy as 2020's been, and now into 2021 that it continues. Yeah. But now you've moved to one of the hottest relocation spots in the entire country that everybody's moving to. You're able to, sell real estate, also an industry that hasn't been affected by COVID. If anything, it kind of catapulted, into overdrive. But you got out of an industry, especially in California, that's just been demolished, dude.
I mean, it's pretty hard. I mean, and I know we're going to kind of jump into some of the other items, but, talking about mindset stuff, but, it's pretty hard to have a bad day when all I have to do is think about it could always be worse. Imagine if you were still in restaurants, still in San Francisco, what would your life look like? And then after that, it's kind of like, you know what, this isn't so bad.
Yeah, 100%. It's all perspective, man. Before we pivot into your real estate career, I'm always curious, man, based on, as our guests share their journeys with them or with us, because, man, you entrepreneur, obviously you grew it and scaled it, and there's a lot of great learning lessons there that I'm assuming you were able to take that had laid a great foundation for real estate, one being your drive and work ethic and so forth. But man, the restaurant industry is very difficult and margins are low, and you really got to know your numbers, and you got to be a brilliant operator. And, what were some of the things that you learned during that experience that really, you feel really helped you? And you could probably write a book on this, but, some of the top things, right. That you feel like really you were able to tap into as you transition into this real estate career that really have been, foundational to help you create success over here?
Definitely problem solving. Problem solving has been a huge one. Really, when you're the person that everything is sort of hinging on, and it's up to you to sort of figure it out, being able to have that mentality of like, no, I can, whatever the issue is, like, there's a solution, we're going to figure it out. Also not being afraid of having to work really hard and really long. I think that's probably what I think led to much of my early success, was that I wasn't afraid to work. I came from working, when we'd open a restaurant, would maybe be 3 months every single day, 12 to 16 hours a day. And so for me, the long hours and the late nights and putting in the hard work, didn't scare me at all. And then also being, being focused and being a self-starter, and knowing that no one was going to tell you what you had to do. You had to come up with it, and you had to do, you had to make your own schedule. Like, I know a lot of people say they get into real estate for the freedom. That wasn't why I got into real estate. And I knew that being your own boss doesn't mean you really get to create your own schedule. It means you have to work all the time, and you have to do everything, and it's kind of all up to you. And so I think kind of just those high level things. Also there was stuff like, having experience with sort of tracking inventory and numbers and managing guest expectations, and being able to take care of people and care about people, and being able to talk to people and converse with people was also a huge help. But really, I think some of the things that helped me out the most were just the fact that I wasn't afraid of the hard work, because at the end of the day, the work in real estate was less physically strenuous than the work it would be in a restaurant where you're running around on the floor every day, always on your feet, and then also sort of always on, like if you're on the floor of a dining room, having to run around and talk to people, where, now it's a little bit more on the computer and on your phone and one-on-one with clients. But I think it was sort of just not being afraid of the hard work and being a self-starter and already having been my own boss. So sort of knowing what that meant to create my own schedule and stay focused and get it done, because no one else was going to. Yeah. And no one else was going to tell me what I needed to do.
Yep. Love it, man. Love it, dude. Such powerful stuff, man. And a lot of realtors may not understand this unless they've, studied a lot of other industries or been involved in other industries. But I don't know of a better place for any entrepreneur to get their start, or if they want to stay long-term to build a career, or if this is just a stepping stone, right, then real estate, man. It's you go, you spend $1,000 max to school, test, license, all the, lockbox, key, all of that. You sell other people's products, you get paid a commission, your operating costs can be next to nothing. Where when you're going to go launch a restaurant, you got to do all the TIs, order all the inventory, have all the staff, right? You could be $500,000 into it just to open up.
Sure.
And then spend another $1 million before you're profitable, right? Where this just gives us that launch pad, man. So I got to imagine that was just such a kind of a cool feeling internally of seeing those different dynamics,
100%. That was the big shocking for me. The big thing for me getting into real estate it was so much easier, so much less that you had to do. And really it's sort of all up to you. You don't have to have a physical space, and you don't have to hire a whole staff. And you don't have to have that inventory. You don't have to come up with a menu. And it's you, a cell phone, a laptop, and your car. And other than that, it's kind of all up to you to get it done and make it happen.
Yeah. All right, dude. So let's jump into your you jump in, you get licensed January of 2019. Yep. So your first year, I guess we can call that a first full year. And dude, like, I don't know if you had success immediately out of the gate. We'll get into all of that, but overall for your first year, man, to be able to break and crush the 6-figure mark in your first 12 months as a brand new realtor, not just a brand new realtor, you are all the way across the country in a brand new place. It's not like you could leverage into all your contacts from the restaurants and, that sphere of influence. Like, you're in a brand new place, don't really know anybody. Walk us through that first year, man. You get licensed. Like, what do you start doing? Because again, it's very unheard of for realtors to hit and crush that 6-figure mark like you did, especially when they're 2,000-3,000 miles across the country from where they just relocated to.
All of my contacts. Yeah. It started before I got licensed. I knew that, forever I was the restaurant guy. And I knew that if I was going to make this jump, it was my opportunity. No one knew who I was when I moved here. And this was sort of my opportunity. And I'm very much the person that's failure is not an option. And so I'm also quite the preparer. And so I started listening to a shitload of podcasts, started reading a ton of books, watching a bunch of YouTube videos, obviously found your podcast, stuff like Bigger Pockets, Real Estate Rock Stars, all of those, just to start, because like I said, I come from a hospitality background. So, I've dealt with some commercial leases and sort of looked for restaurant space before. And I've rented some apartments, but I wasn't buying houses in San Francisco. The median house price is $1.4 million for, a small home. So I'd never bought a home before and never had really even considered that I was going to be able to. So I felt like if I was going to jump into this industry and really want to hit the ground running, that the education piece was going to need to get started immediately. And so the whole time while I was getting my license and even before when I sort of made that decision to jump into real estate, finding out what the hell I was supposed to do before I started was sort of the biggest piece for me. So, podcasts and books were huge. And through that is sort of when I kept hearing a lot of stuff. Like I've never really been a big reader, and I've never really been a big podcast person. I kind of did restaurants. It was just what I did forever. So I sometimes think, could it have gone better could I have had an easier time had I listened to podcasts and books in the restaurant space? But in listening to all these podcasts, I kept hearing stuff about mindset and setting routines and all of these things. And so I knew that I couldn't kind of just come in blindly and get licensed. I also kept hearing that, you go to real estate, to the classes, and then they're not going to teach you how to be a real estate agent. They're just going to kind of give you the laws and the rules and guidelines. So it really began beforehand. And so once I got licensed, I also looked at what brokerages were in town and what brokerages were doing the most volume, and kind of picked the top 3, and then kind of looked at like, what was the leadership and what did they look like? What kind of things did they offer? And ended up picking the brokers that I'm at now, which is Village Real Estate here in Nashville, kind of based off of their leadership, the guy who started it, and he had put out a book. And so I bought the book and I read it. I ended up, I'm really big on networking and sort of trying to meet people. And so I ended up getting him to have a meeting, to have coffee with me, and kind of asked him some questions to figure out if that's where I wanted to end up. The other brokerages were maybe a little bit too corporate for kind of my style. And he kind of had a little bit more, he kind of reminded me of someone from San Francisco, to be honest. He's like, he juggled and was like a former zoologist, and ended up creating a massive brokerage and a huge development company. And I figured if he did it, then I could make that transition from sort of restaurants and create some real success. So, chose the brokerage, and they had a really great education program and platform here, and sort of went through their sort of onboarding process. And they're really big on like the Ninja system. And so kind of got some of these foundational things. So between their sort of onboarding process and I don't know how many hours of podcasts, how many hours of podcasts and books I had read, I felt like I thought I had a pretty good idea of what I needed to do to sort of get started right out of the gate.
Yep. Love it, dude. So, okay. So then let's, kind of get more tactical, I guess, here of,
Sure.
and I love everything that you just talked about, man. I mean, success is in the planning, dude. You took the time to educate yourself, not just through real estate school, but, learning from other top producers and so forth. You took the time to go out there and identify the right mentor, that you knew was a good fit for you. And, I think those are so important, man. I mean, new agents so often, not just, this is consistent in the industry, but, a lot of new agents, maybe, they don't know any better, because they're new, but so many are just focused on the splits, right? The fees, the splits, and not really asking themselves of, like, what is the environment that will allow me the most opportunity to become the person that I need to become, so I can go out there and then grow the business that I want to grow. And, so all that, and I just wanted to repeat that so that, or, those watching and listening, understand the power in those things, dude. Right. Cause they are massively powerful, dude. So then from there, you got that dialing in. You just said that, you felt like you were prepared enough to go out there and start diving in. What were the things that you doing to go out there, and now that you're as prepared as you could be at that moment to start generating business?
Yeah, or I thought I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, and all kind of the basic things that everyone tells you, right? Like basically let everyone know that you're a real estate agent, start talking about it more, reaching out to your sphere. I sort of made that announcement. I made sure we did sort of the education to start and make sure that I didn't want to say I was a real estate agent, but then not be able to talk about it with a little bit of not authority, but kind of feel like I would know what I'm talking about. And so once I sort of made the announcement, it was, announcement on social media, sent out emails to all of my sphere, started doing stuff like, handwritten cards, the stuff that you learn in Ninja, 2 cards a day. And then, started working a ton of open houses. I would show up. The other big thing too was asking a ton of questions to other agents that were in my office. So, I started coming to the office. I would always be like the first one to show up to the office and the last one to leave, if I didn't have any appointments. Talking to all the other agents and just asking questions, what did you do when you got started, and what sort of things did you have success with? And then just not being afraid to try a bunch of stuff. I mean, I bought leads for a while that went, moderately well. But I found that for me, having been around people and enjoy being around people, this was obviously pre-COVID, thank God, but that my greatest asset was out being around people and talking, not walking up to people and saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent, anyone looking to buy or sell, was just being out around people as often as I could and trying to pepper in conversations about real estate, right? People always ask you how it's going and what you're doing. And so I think I went out probably 5 to 6 nights a week. I think I spent maybe $22,000 or $23,000 my first year, going out to dinners and going out for drinks and coffee and taking any opportunity I could. I would meet people and I would text people on the weekends and be like, hey, what are you guys up to? They'd kind of tell me and I'd be like, cool. Is it cool if I come? Like inviting myself places and really getting rid of my ego. It was very strange for me. Obviously, having lived in San Francisco for 13 years, I had a huge network. I never felt like, I couldn't really tell you the last time I felt like I was trying to make friends in San Francisco. Well, coming out here and not really knowing very many people, I knew that the person with the most friends sort of kind of wins the game of real estate in a lot of ways, making those connections and going deeper with people. And so I knew that if I wanted to have success, I needed to have more friends. I needed to make more friends, and I needed to put myself out there and not be afraid to talk about real estate at the same time. So I think that was really, most of my business that first year, I did about 10 transactions my first year, and most of that business came from my sphere. I did have a couple sort of online leads that I got into at the later end of the year. But really that first year was was from working open houses and going out as much as I possibly could. I feel fortunate, or not fortunate, but I'm single, so I'm able to do that. But if I wasn't in the office, or I wasn't, working an open house or showing clients a home, I was out at a bar or a restaurant or asking people if they wanted to go out, or inviting myself over to people's houses. Just to try and make those connections and to grow my network as fast as I could.
Now, for those that are watching and listening to this, that looking to expand their sphere of influence, because at the end of the day, dude, it's a relationship game, and you hit the nail on the head. The more friends that we have, the real estate game at the highest levels, get people to know you, like you, trust you, be aware of what you do for a living. Stay in touch with them frequently, your business grows. So, and the more people that know us, like us, trust us, right? And then obviously we've got to be strategic with planting the seed that we're also a realtor, because you're our mom. Your mom will forget you're a realtor. You're Kristopher to your mom, right? So we got to remind those, but with that, if people are wanting to, because, obviously it's led to a lot of success for you. As well as, with other networking methods that you, whether events, whatever that you do, what do you find to be the key there with that? Are you going into those, just an example, with a focus of, okay, hey man, I'm just trying to make friends here, right? Instead of approaching it from a business angle, just kind of knowing that the real estate stuff would eventually come up, or, what kind of angle did you work that from?
Yeah, and I think that's the tough part, right? Like, I mean, I think real estate agents, they get a bad rap, right, for kind of being that sleazy car salesman. And so the last thing I wanted to do was for people to feel like I was coming in there because I had something to sell. So it was never led with what it never came. I never cared about the business. I purely knew that the more relationships the more connections I could make, the more relationships that I had, the more I was present, the more people, everyone I met, if they were cool, I'd ask for their number. It was very strange for me, some asking for dudes' numbers. It was like it was very out of my comfort level. But I knew that the more connections that you make, the more relationships that you acquire, and coming from a place of purely just wanting more friends and meeting, was if there was obviously someone that I didn't get along with, it wasn't like, oh well, I'm just going to get their information because I need it, because maybe there's a sale that I could get out of this. It was purely just making connections with people, and if there was some common interests, then great, then we'd exchange numbers, and I was going to sort of follow up and see if they wanted to get a beer or hang out. And it kind of worked in my favor because I didn't really have that many friends here, so I was also making friends with people and growing my network. So there was no sort of ulterior motive to it. And I knew that if I could just expand my network, if I could just grow the amount of people that knew me, that slowly over time, I mean, add everyone on social media, and then same, not beat them over the head with the fact that, hey, here's interest rates and home mortgages, and here's this home and that home, and I'm a real estate agent, but that they would inherently see stuff that I was doing and know that I'm a real estate agent. And over time, if the larger I grow that network, eventually, someone's going to need something, and hopefully they think of me because I've sort of created that relationship and that connection, and something would come from it down the road. And if it didn't, that's fine. Then hopefully I have a great friend or someone else that down the road there's something that'll come up, and that person, knowing that person is going to be beneficial for either them or for me. The big thing that I've always found is, and I know everyone always says this, but is to add value. But really, I always try, and when I meet someone, I always try and figure out who do I know that I can introduce to this person that would be of interest or value to them and make their life, better. Maybe it's something that they talked about that they're into. And then I'm like, oh, you got to meet my friend John. He loves that. He's got this thing going on. I think you guys would really hit it off, or try and figure out, is there a pain point? Is there something that they're interested in? And who do I know anywhere, really? It doesn't even just have to be in Nashville, but who do I know that I can sort of connect them with? Because I think that's sort of trying to go deeper beyond just sort of like, hey, let's exchange numbers, or hey, add me on Instagram, right? If I can now connect them or figure out something that they're into and create that connection, then I have a better chance at that point of having that deeper connection and kind of staying top of mind, and them not feeling like I'm just sort of hanging out around in the peripherals, like waiting for like a sale, right?
Yeah, love it, dude. And one thing that you said that I just, kind of want to repeat here to make sure everybody caught it and is paying attention to it. Because again, when you talk about the adding value, well, I mean, we want to have the awareness, we're looking for it, but then sometimes people might be like, well, hey man, maybe they're trying to get into, the luxury market or whatever. And it can be tough to, like, they're already connected, they already have resources, whatever. I mean, sometimes we get that, well, how can we bring value? Like, I can't really help these people, in certain situations. And but one thing that you said, dude, was, I made sure that I was present. And I just want our listeners and anybody watching this to also understand that, something of value, kind of one of the greatest gifts that we can give anybody today, because everybody's so glued to these damn things anymore, and just think about it in our own lives. Like, when's the last time somebody gave you 5 minutes of their undivided attention, 5 minutes of their time, where you could tell they're truly, genuinely interested in you? They weren't hijacking the conversation to make it about them. Like, it's almost non-existent, right? It's hard to even think of that last freaking time, and dude, I mean, that's a value to people, right? Just to be truly genuine and interested, just to, like you mentioned, man, being present, because nobody's present anymore, right? It makes, deep down, it makes people feel good. It makes them feel special. And, I mean, that's, powerful, dude.
I think people don't care about what you're doing. People want you kind of to care about what they're doing. And so, I think that showing that you genuinely care and not having sort of any ulterior motive is really the key for making those connections with people.
Yep. 100%. You couldn't agree more. And, when I get, everybody always asks for book lists, and, my top number one recommend for realtors is always How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Even though it was written like 1930.
I'm reading it right now. I read it every year at the start of the year, just because the information in there is, I mean, it's more relevant now maybe than it was back then, with how disconnected we are from people in reality.
Yeah.
I mean, the information in there, I mean, that is 100%. I mean, it's a guidebook for how you should live your life. And if you want to have success at any level in whatever you do, I think just following those principles right there, it's pretty hard to fail if you follow those principles.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Then, all right. So then also you mentioned that you started having some success at the end of the year with online leads that started to pop. But it was open houses, networking, that really led to, you breaking that 6+ figure. I mean, 6.5 million your first year. And then
3.5 million.
3.5 million. Sorry. And then your second year, you essentially double your business.
Yep.
And I mean, it was just, okay, now that I know that these these 3 things are working, is it just scaling those 3 things, or were there, different, I mean, walk us through the second year. Was there any changes or tweaks?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely some changes. I mean, obviously at that point, my network had expanded. And so I was able to really dive in. It's if you don't have anyone who can give you referrals, it's hard to get referrals your first year. So that second year was definitely diving in more to past clients, and really trying to squeak out some referrals from them, asking for stuff like reviews. And then, like I had said, I had started to dabble a little bit in online leads towards the end of my first year. Our brokerage switched over to Boomtown for our CRM. And, the same, from listening to a bunch of podcasts, I'd obviously heard a lot of online lead generation stuff. Obviously, what you're doing with online lead generation stuff was super inspirational for me. And it was something that, I'm not super technologically savvy. I mean, I know how to work the internet and I can use my phone pretty well, but I was never, I didn't know a lot about, click funnels and Facebook ads and Instagram ads and all these different things. And so I kind of dove into it just, this was before COVID, but sort of dove into it knowing that, there's definitely, I see the value in what's happening online. A lot of stuff is moving online. And then even more so, obviously, once COVID hit. But I knew that, the stuff that I don't enjoy doing is the stuff sometimes that I know I need to focus on. And even if it's just to figure out whether I can do it or whether it's going to be something that's going to be of value to me. And so I really dove into stuff, drip campaigns, and scripts, and figuring out, how to convert someone from an online lead to an actual real person that I'm showing homes or selling their home. And so that, that picked, I doubled so that first year I did, with probably about 6 months of online leads, I think I closed 2 of maybe 500 or so, 550 online leads that I got. I converted 2. And then my second year, I doubled that at about 4. And kind of the same, it's kind of, I've sort of doubled each pillar of my business. So whether it was sphere of influence, referrals from other agents outside of my market, and then online leads. Sphere is still my bread and butter. Obviously, I know my strong points, as much as I really wish I could be someone that really hits the phones hard and cold calls and circle prospects. And, and gets that it gets business that way. But I know that it puts me a little bit out of my comfort zone. I still enjoy doing it just because I know that just because I don't enjoy doing it doesn't mean that it's something I shouldn't do, right? But definitely, you know, still my sphere is still sort of been the bread and butter. It's what's comfortable to me. You know, I have an easier time talking to people I know than I don't know. But was sort of able to double each pillar of my business. And those have really just been those three: working my sphere, referrals from other agents, both giving and receiving, being much better about, you know, trying to help people with real estate anywhere, no matter where they are. So I have a bunch of friends in San Francisco. I'm much better about reaching out to them and letting me know, like, hey guys, I know that I'm not in San Francisco, I'm in Nashville, but if you ever have any real estate questions, like, I'd love to be a resource. Like, I might not be there and I might not know about the market, but if you are thinking about it and you have questions, like, I'd love to talk to you just about real estate in general. Let's just have a conversation. And then I'd be happy to find someone to help you, you know, and sort of vet them. And that's been really great for me. I got, you know, 3 deals that way. And because of that, I've got, you know, a couple deals already to kind of start this year off. And so it's the same. It's really, it goes back to just trying to provide value for people and staying in contact with people, whether they're in your market or not.
Yeah, I love it, dude. That's awesome, man. Powerful stuff, dude. And not that other people in other states shouldn't be doing that if they're relocated from other states, or just reaching out to Spirit anyway. But you know, it just kind of so happened to work out for you where there's a mass exodus from California taking place, and a good chunk of those are moving to where you're at. And
totally. And I love taking the 25% referral fee on a San Francisco home where could be a $2.5 million sale. You know, just because it's not my market, if still people know, like, and trust me, and they, you know, can still look to me to help them with a move kind of wherever that is.
Yeah. And what I love about this, dude, and just, you know, some of the things that you talked about, you know, right, with I wished I was, you know, somebody I could love cold calls or whatever. And, you know, one of the amazing things that we're blessed with, again, about being in this industry is, I mean, there's 1,000 ways or more to go out there and create success in this business. You know, right? It's not like we're selling Kirby vacuums and our only option is to door knock. Yeah, right. And one thing that I just know, not just from my personal career and my personal success, but, you know, from being personal friends and with so many top producers all over the planet, having them on the podcast and, you know, so forth, is, look, dude, like, everything works and nothing doesn't. Yeah. You know, right. So it's like, what do you enjoy? What do you enjoy? What are you good at? What are your, you know, and it just makes this business so much more freaking fun too. You know, I just wanted to bring that up because it's, you know, we're indoctrinated a lot of times. I mean, you had a great mentor to jump under in this business, but, you know, most they jump in and they're, you know, told, okay, well, here's an expired script, here's a FSBO script, you know, here's a phone book, like, just, you know, whatever, start dialing. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, just find out what you want and do, like, what you enjoy doing, and, you know, figure out a way to gain business out of that. There's a way for it to be had.
Totally.
You know, so I'm curious, man. I mean, in here you talk about, you know, the power of mindset that's played and continues to play in your life. And if we just can, I was going to go into a couple things here, but let me just stay on this point because, like, right now, dude, with COVID taking place, you know, COVID, and then the George Floyd situation, and all the riots, and all the, you know, stuff taking place, and then to add on that, the presidential election. And then, you know, this will be released, you know, sometime mid-January, but at the time of this recording, you know, like, is the day after all the crap just went down in DC, and you know, with quarantines and shutdowns and, you know, the feeling of loss of control. And, you know, if there's been 1 year, man, that is put people in a tough mental state, it's been this year. And I'm sure there's others, and obviously other life situations that we individually go through that, you know, could put us through tough times. But more so than ever, I've had, I mean, just insane amounts of people reaching out to me that were in a tough mental spot this year. And, like, suicide hotlines are up 800%. And, you know, so I mean, I think mindset is the most important thing that we need to focus on in any time, regardless, for our success. but especially during crazy times like this. And, what do you do for yourself, to keep a strong mindset, because 90% of success is just up here, right? So like, what are things that you personally do that keep this thing healthy and focus on the right things?
Yeah, I feel pretty fortunate. I feel like from listening to a lot of podcasts and hearing that sort of before getting really into the business, obviously Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod was a great book. Having worked in restaurant industry for so long, I was used to waking up at 10 a.m., 10:30 in the morning, usually with a hangover, and then getting to work and then being there until midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning, and then, having drinks, and then, next day would be the same thing, wake up at 10, 11 and go to work. And that was sort of my morning routine. And I knew that wasn't going to work with real estate. I knew that, I needed to start early in the morning. And reading that book, also knowing that, to be honest, I was scared. I knew that I wasn't going to allow myself not to succeed, but I was pretty terrified, I started I was 32, turning 33 years old, and kind of starting a completely new career. And so for me, it was, exercise was huge. So getting moving, so I would wake up at 5:30. I'd, make some coffee, read a book, and then meditate, write in a journal. And in that journal, I'd write out some affirmations, write kind of whatever was on my mind, because especially in the beginning, and that's the other thing too. I was coming from where I was constantly surrounded by shitloads of people, whether it was employees or guests that were coming in. Well, when you go into real estate, it's just you by yourself all the time. And I'm a people person. So that was really difficult for me to know that I'm going from being around people all the time to now just me every day, not really knowing like I knew what I was doing, figuring all this stuff out for the first time. And especially, I didn't get my first deal for 5 months. So when you're working 7 days a week, putting in 12 hours a day, spending a bunch of money, no money coming in, and having to be excited, having to have this sort of abundance mindset, and when you're talking, no one wants to hear about you failing and how difficult it is for you and how much you're struggling. You have to sort of be happy. You have to make, like, when people ask you how it's going, you have to be like, man, it's so good. I just learned about this, or I just showed this home and it was great. And I've got this client that's coming in, and you have to use, people want to be around people that are succeeding and that are sort of vibrating at the frequency of success. And one of the affirmations that I wrote was that I would write down every single day for the last, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, was that, success is something you attract by the person you become. And so I knew that I may not have had success right at that moment, but I knew that as long as I stuck with it every single day, that I did the things, I went through my daily checklist of the stuff that I needed to accomplish that day to, in that one day, succeed at what I needed to do, that eventually it was going to work out. And so every morning I would wake up fairly terrified, like, man, what am I doing? Right? Like, man, I'm 3 months in. This person says they're going to buy a house. We've been looking at a house, we've been looking at houses for a month. I don't have anything else in the pipeline. And so it was taking that time in the morning every day to focus on myself and my mind and getting my mind right. Because I knew that if I didn't do that, there was no way that I would be able to do anything good for anyone else that day. I wouldn't be able to get stuff done. And so sort of course correcting to start straight from the beginning, and making sure I was doing that every single day. And I'd never really done that before. When I was in the restaurant industry, I wasn't something I ever did. And the results of it were just astonishing. I just feel like doing gratitudes and affirmations and talking to myself in the mirror, and reading stuff, starting to get into stuff like the law of attraction and vibrations and all of this stuff. I mean, it sounded a little bit out there to me in the beginning, but I really started to see that the stuff, I don't know exactly how, but that it was working. And that, I tell myself my life is getting better every day in every way. And I wrote that down every single day, and I think that was the only way. And then especially once COVID hit, being a single person stuck in an apartment all day, I ended up getting a dog because I got tired of talking to my plants. But, every single day waking up and knowing, my life is getting better every single day. Even though I'm waking up at 5:30 and I'm in my apartment for 18 hours, my life is getting better every day. And I felt like when I would be around people, I felt like people, you can feel that. And so when you're projecting that energy, people want to be around other people that project good energy. And then it goes into, then I was more caring of other people, and I could, and so my connections with other people sort of became deeper.
Yep. I love that, dude. It's one of the, I shouldn't even say one of the, I would can pretty confidently state the most powerful. Like if it comes down to, if someone would ask me like, what's the most important daily thing, that you do, daily ritual, whatever that has had, by far the biggest impact on your success journey. And it's really twofold, but it's kind of part of the same. Right. Number one is daily, daily planning and reflection. Yep. And then number two is my morning routine. Right. And those two things, can happen simultaneously, part of that morning routine. And one of my good friends and mentors, Garrett J. White, calls it being on power, or on power with or on purpose with power. Yeah. Right. So purpose is, okay, well, you've got a purposeful plan to go out there and execute. Like you never enter it and start a day without it committed to the calendar and on paper first. Right. Okay, well, this is my purpose that I need to achieve. And that obviously, if you're planning correctly, leads to got to win the day, you win the days, you win the weeks, win the months, win the years. Right. But then from there, that morning routine gives us the power it puts us in the best mental, physiological, energetic state to go out there and execute and handle what we got to take care of that day. And, just having that understanding of that. And I get it, man. Well, just like you just went through, I'm sure that there were times where until it became routine and habitual and you started feeling the power of it, it's a pain in the ass, got to get up early. It's a headache. And then all of a sudden, just one day it clicks, you're like, man, I just mentally, physically, like everything just starts to feel different. Right? Then you start to see the true power in it, man. And it's, I can't think of anything more powerful than that. But you got to stay consistent with it. I was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, it's looking at it this way. Like, let's just say you're like, okay, I decide I want to get in the best shape of my life. And you go out there and figure out what that looks like, what your dream body is. You find out the right workouts, the supplementation, the routine, and you work your ass off for, let's just say 18 months to make that a reality. Well, once you got that dream body and you put in that work, like your job's not done. Yeah. If you stop doing those things, you're going to, that body that took you 18 months to get, you're going to regress in like 4 or 5 weeks, like back to your old self. Like it goes fast, right? Well, same thing with the mind, man. Say like these routines, dude, like you just got to keep it going, man.
Yeah. And I was not a morning person. So that was probably one of the most difficult parts about real estate for me, was getting myself to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and commit to doing these things. And then, like you said, once I started seeing the results, and it really didn't take very long. I'd say within 2 months, really, I just started feeling better, and I started getting more done. And it really felt like, after 3 months, it really started to get strange almost, where you're like, stuff is just like that. Wow, that person just called me, and like, there's this stuff like coming to me now, that, I really attribute it to that morning routine and to going through those rituals every day and to writing out my goals for the week and writing out my goals for the year every day and writing those affirmations and saying them out loud and forcing myself to believe them, that, it's that kind of law of attraction stuff that everything seems to get a little bit easier. Once I got used to waking up at 5:30 in the morning, everything started getting a little bit easier.
Well, and then, in a combination of that, you were also putting in the daily work.
Yes.
Right. So, like, I love the documentary, The Secret, right? But the one thing that is missing from there, where I think to most it's common sense, but,
Sure.
but for some that, they may not understand that, but it's, right. The missing thing that's missing out of there is the work that you need to put in, right? It's not just about the manifestation and whatever. It's like, you also, taking action on the things to make those things a reality. You're working on yourself and you're, so, yeah, I love it, dude. So, I know that this has only been a couple year, short journey for you here. However though, dude, like you put in a tremendous amount of time with your self-development and, listening to podcasts and surrounding yourself with top producers. And, you've had all these amazing mentors and still have these amazing mentors and so forth. I'm curious, do you have a vision of where you see you taking this business long-term?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about that a lot. I just read that book, Vivid Vision, over the sort of the Christmas break, and have been thinking a lot about that. I love being a real estate agent because, like I said, I love people. But one aspect of the business that has really sort of intrigued me, and I've been fortunate enough to have done is on the development side. My first year in business, worked with actually some former mentors. It goes back to sort of your network, but worked with some of my former business partners and mentors, and we bought some property here in Nashville and built 3 homes and sold those bought the land in 2019 and sold them in 2020, and really had enjoyed that. And so that's sort of been this other avenue that I've been exploring a little bit more on the development side. And I think ultimately, there's sort of this power in proximity, right? I really truly believe that you're sort of the average of the people closest around you. And on the real estate side, most of my mentors have been sort of in the real estate investment space. And so I think ultimately, I'd love to create a lot of passive income through real estate, and my ultimate goal is to use my sort of residential real estate business and be able to use all of that income and invest it in real estate. That would be my ultimate goal. I don't know if I'll ever get out of production. I really do like working with people. It's been a lot of fun, and it sort of fulfills that craving that I have of sort of being around people. But I think getting into the passive income and real estate investing side, and most recently sort of the development side. We've got a couple properties under contract, or had a couple properties, have one property under contract currently. It's something I really want to explore a lot more this year. And then ultimately plug all of the money that I'm making into just investing in real estate and being able to create passive income, because I know, at the end of the day, it's a job. And so ultimately, if the job becomes a lot easier, if I feel like I don't have to do it, I'll probably always do it to a certain degree. But if I don't have to, it becomes a little bit more fun. It's never really been about the money for me, man. Obviously, I worked in the restaurant industry. I owned restaurants, so it's never really been about the money for me. But I think if I could create, passive income through real estate, and still help people buy and sell homes, I think ultimately that's my goal.
That's awesome, man. Love it, dude. So one last question for you, but before we jump into that, we're all real estate agents, or or tied to the real estate industry, that everybody that's watching, listening to this, and so forth, or at least the majority. With that being said, man, you're in Nashville, Tennessee. Which again is a lot of people moving there, dude, from different markets and so forth. Kristopher, if anybody watching, listen to this, has a future referral for you for your market, or man, they just want to continue following you and watching you on this success journey. Do you like what are the best places to follow you, get in touch with you? If they have a referral for you, like what are the best places to do that?
Sure. Yeah. Instagram is great. So I'm at Kris, and it's Kris with a K. So Kris dot my last name Esqueda, Esqueda. And then my email address is K and then my last name Esqueda at villagetn.com. Obviously love referrals, but most of the stuff I feel like, most of what I do now kind of ends up seeming like it ends up being on Instagram.
Yep. Love it. And those that are watching, listen, whatever platform that you're on, well, if you just scroll right below, we'll have all of that on there just in case you're driving the car, didn't have a pen or whatever, where you can just click and then connect with Kris. So, I do last question for you. And again, I know it's been a short journey here in these 2 years, but sometimes 2 years can feel like 10. Yeah. Right.
Definitely. Sure. And definitely this year with COVID.
Yeah, 100%. But again, I mean, in that 2 years, dude, you've done, you've had a lot of experiences and a lot of learning lessons and so forth. And, if Kristopher today, knowing everything you know now, could go and have a conversation with, the younger version of yourself when you first were getting the industry, and give yourself 2 pieces of advice that you feel that you wished you would have known, that knowing what you know now, like you would have loved to truly know, that if you would have known those and focused on those 2 things, would have just fast forwarded this success trajectory. What would those 2 pieces of advice be?
Maybe worry a little bit less. I mean, I'm definitely my biggest critic and the hardest sort of on myself. And then also, I feel like I sort of get analysis paralysis. I feel like, sometimes I think too much before I do. And so I think I would have been to take a few more chances, not I think there was a lot of value in all the education and stuff I did before, but sometimes I go a little bit too much and I need to just do and figure it out and fail or succeed, but then move on quickly. If it's a failure, move on quickly and keep going. I think, take more chances and act a little bit quicker. And I think I maybe could have had some success a little bit earlier in, and I think that was 2, but if there was a third also would be to, don't worry about your ego, especially just because you don't really know, just because you haven't been in the industry for very long doesn't mean that people wouldn't work with you. And I think that's something that held me back too. I was scared to talk to people because I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I feel like a lot of people are still figuring it out. Take the chances and ask for the business.
Yeah, love it, man. Powerful words, man. And Kristopher, dude, truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here, dude. I know you're busy, and the fact that you took time out of your busy career and so forth to share this with us, man, truly means a lot, dude. So I truly appreciate and honor you for jumping on here with us, man.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, honestly, Josh, your podcast specifically was a huge, I feel like, catalyst for me for having any success in this business. The people that you have on the podcast, hearing what other people were doing, and then hearing what you were doing. I mean, I don't know how I would have done it otherwise without this sort of information. The knowledge and stuff that comes off of this it's pretty hard to fail if you have the guidebook from so many people. So the content and the stuff that you're putting out it's been invaluable to me.
Yeah, well, truly means a lot, man. I appreciate all your support, dude, and those watching, listening, as always. We truly appreciate you being here. Truly appreciate your support. Truly appreciate you guys watching and listening. Keep up the amazing work. Keep kicking ass, and we will see you next time. Peace. I hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.